Hello, my name is Dr. Shane Watt. I'm the treating chiropractic physician at Neurobolic Health Center. I'm located in South Jordan, Utah. Today we're going to talk a little bit about thyroid. Now, this is an introduction video. I do have 2 additional videos that I'd highly recommend after you watch this one if it perks up your interest and helps you want to look for a different approach on getting well. Those are Thyroid Made Easy Part 1 and Part 2. But this is the intro version, just to give you a little bit of insight on a different approach of how to get your health back with thyroid care. So just a real quick analysis. What we're going to do is, in our seminars, we explain how the thyroid functions. And a lot of people don't understand that. So one of the biggest things that we want to do is see and explain to you as a patient why you're not having success in your normal thyroid care. And it's about physiology. All the physiology is not being addressed. There's multiple things happening. The hypothalamus stimulates the pituitary, stimulates the thyroid gland, and then that sends the hormones out. The biggest problem is that you're being judged according to a TSH test. 90% are only having a TSH test. About 10% get a T4 test. But there's more to it. In fact, there's a whole lot more. There's a whole lot of different pathways in order to get to the cell. In fact, from the hypothalamus to the cell, there's over 10 metabolic steps. Unfortunately, in standard medical model, in your standard health care, you're only getting a couple of steps looked at. There's a big process that is being missed in physiology. Not only that, there's things that can be going wrong in that physiology that never gets addressed. Things like dopamine, serotonin. If that's a problem, it's going to affect hypothalamus. Well, those are your happy neurotransmitters. How many of you are not happy? How many of you have depressive issues? There's hormones that can be messed up. Cortisol, which is our stress hormone. Anybody out there not stressed? Well, it affects how the conversions happen in the liver, as well as it affects the pituitary gland. What about hormones? Progesterone. That affects the TPO enzyme being, the TPO enzyme is what allows tyrosine and iodine together. That's why you have the T3 molecule or the T4 molecule. Well, what about our liver and our gut? Who doesn't have a healthy gut in the United States? Probably about 99.9% of the population. Why? Because we don't eat healthy. There's all kinds of bugs and parasites and all kinds of bad stuff that we're eating in our diet. Food sensitivities, all these things have a factor. What about our cell? Well, if we have inflammation, we're not going to get proper T3 into the cell. What about fatty acid metabolism? Most people don't eat proper fatty acids, and so we have problems with that. Vitamins, estrogens, all these things play a factor that are not being addressed under your care. We're going to do that. We're going to look at those. Now, with that being said, about 70% of you, that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is autoimmunity. Well, what does autoimmunity mean? It means instead of having a thyroid problem, you have an autoimmune condition that is affecting your thyroid. Doesn't that sound different? That makes a big difference. Why is it not being checked? Well, in reality, it's not being checked because it's not going to change your doctor's protocol. Because it's still going to be Synthroid, levothyroxine, one of those medications. And insurance companies don't want to test for things that aren't going to change protocol. So it never gets tested for. So that's a huge one. Why is it so big? Because autoimmunities are genetic. Now, just because it's genetic doesn't mean you have to have it. But it is genetic. What turns those things on? Well, we're going to talk about that. One of those biggest things is estrogen. And a lot of times it happens after a baby. It's not postpartum depression. It's not, I just can't lose the baby fat anymore. Very likely, you had an autoimmune condition turn up. Now, one of the other biggest factors is our gut. No one addresses that. Very few people address the gut. But there's so many problems. There's bugs, bacteria, there's food sensitivities. All those things can get into the bloodstream. What makes my approach different? There's a lot. You want a doctor to be a detective. If you hire me, you're hiring me to find out and to help you. Now, unfortunately, most patients don't think of it that way. They go to their doctor, and if it didn't work, it doesn't matter because insurance paid for it and it was their copay. Well, that's not the case. If you want help, you got to figure out how to get that help, and if it's not happening in the medical model, then you got to figure out a way to get it taken care of in a natural model, and that's what we do. Why does my approach work? Well, one of the biggest things is we're not just looking at your thyroid. We're looking at all these other issues: autoimmune, gut function, digestion, adrenal glands. Who's here is not fatigued, right? We got to look at those things. Brain functions. Anyone ever told you, hey, we got to get your brain functioning right so your gut functions right so that your body functions right? Most people never address that, most medical doctors, right? Well, we're going to. We do a very in-depth neurological evaluation. Testing. This is just one example of the testing we do. Blood work. If you go and get your blood work done, you get, what, 2 vials taken. When we do blood work, they take usually 12 to 14 different vials. Do you want a detective, or do you want someone just following what the establishment does? You want a detective. So I hope this has pricked your interest. Please watch my other videos, Thyroid Made Easy Part 1 and Part 2. You can find them probably on the right-hand side of watching this on YouTube. It should be there. But I want you to know we have a completely different approach to helping you get well. And if you're not satisfied, if you feel like the health care you've been getting so far has failed you, there are answers. We do seminars very regularly. They're about an hour long. It is worth your time. I have never had anyone walk out of my seminar that did not feel like they got information that was valuable to them. Not everyone decided to do care with me, and that's fine. But they were educated, and they had a better understanding of what was going on with their health. And that's my goal. Once again, my name is Dr. Shane Watt, the Neurobolic Health Center. I'm located in South Jordan, Utah. Call my office, 801-495-4444, and you can find out when our next seminar is. There's probably, if this is on Facebook, it's probably the seminar date's already been given to you. But we are doing these really consistently, usually once or twice a month. Please look into doing something different for your health. The reason you clicked on this was because you have an issue, or you know somebody that does, that isn't having success in the standard health care that they're getting. Don't let your health care fail you. Let your health care be your helper. And there is hope that you can get answers to your problems and to get your life back. Thank you very much. Hope you have a wonderful day.